So are we moving on to the second noble truth? We
Yes.
are. We are moving on to the second noble truth this week. Yeah. The second noble truth, the cause of suffering, the causes of suffering. Yeah. Which the Buddha identified so long ago. The fact of suffering, of dissatisfaction, of discontent is clear to us. It's inevitable. It's kind of baked into this life in various ways. What are the causes? What are the causes? Yeah. The Buddha is so simple. Some of these things are so simple, and yet there's so much laid out around them. But the cause of suffering, from the in a Buddhist psychology point of view, is clinging. Clinging in one way or another. Clinging in all of its degrees. There's so many degrees of clinging. There's subtle clinging. There's a whole range of clinging. Ranges of clinging in our experience, yeah? Holding on. Of wanting something other than what is here to be here, of wanting something that is here to stay, of wanting something that has already gone over the waterfall, to come back, to hold on to it, even though it's completely gone over the waterfall, the poignancy of that, There's so many words connected with clinging. Wanting, striving, needing, hunger, claiming, owning, grasping, craving. Identifying, obsessing, being addicted. Addiction. Addiction is an extreme form of clinging. But let's make no mistake, we all have clinging. It's simply a matter of degree. And we all have it because it's baked into our very wiring, some of the very deepest conditioning. It's how we keep our DNA going. It's how evolution makes sure that we'll keep our DNA going, that we'll go for the pleasant, that will go for the very pleasant, that will want to hold on to it, that will also know how to move away from what's not pleasant. We didn't get here from an evolutionary point of view without clinging as part of our wiring. It's really helpful to get that. That evolutionary psychology says, yeah, I'm clinging. We need to look into this and how it's more part of our evolutionary wiring, which supports the transmission of our DNA. It's not necessarily supportive of our happiness at a deeper level, but it's definitely supportive of our DNA. We wouldn't be here without clinging. I found that so helpful to really understand evolutionary psychology in that way, and to really say, these things have a right to be there. These are certainly not defects in my character, that there is clinging arising. Do you know? It's like, this is definitely the water that we all swim in. The waters of clinging to various degrees. And it's not that clinging doesn't lead to anything delightful. Certainly a bite of chocolate leads to delight, right? But if you notice with clinging, clinging comes together with that tendency with even something lovely like chocolate. There's a kind of clenching around it. Have you noticed this? If you haven't noticed this, and if you love chocolate, or if any bite of food, and maybe you've already experimented with this is what eating meditation can be about, Notice how you put a piece of chocolate on your tongue for a moment. Don't bite it, just let it sit there. And notice the difference between savoring, tasting the chocolate, and a kind of clutching energy. It's like I'll think of the baby bird sometimes reaching out to for a bite of food, It's that deep kind of impulsive, compulsive, sometimes energetic of, oh, I want it, I need it, I have to have it, I have to have it. And as soon as it goes over the waterfall, of course, that bite of chocolate, well, I guess I can't get that one back. How about another bite? Maybe that's it. Maybe, how do I comfort myself? And it's this poignancy of how do we comfort ourselves, reaching out in various ways for moment after moment of experience, which are continually going over the waterfall, that are clearly, obviously impermanent. And yet so much of our lives are around orchestrating, organizing, wanting solidity, wanting safety, wanting to hold on, wanting things to be predictable, wanting things to be under control. This is all part of the clinging, the matrix of clinging. It's all part of it. It's all part of that. And of course we want that. Of course we want certainty. Yeah. Yeah, of course. Of course we do. And what the Buddha is suggesting, is that at a deeper level, though, it interferes with a deeper kind of contentment, a deeper kind of a sense of being at home. It interferes with that. It's a restless, compulsive kind of energetic. It's there so frequently. It's there so frequently. And if you've noticed, and we'll play with this in a few minutes today. If you've noticed, what interrupts the holding environment? What keeps the inner holding environment from getting set up? It's a grabby kind of clutchy energy, isn't it? In some way, it's that impulse coming up in various ways. Oh, I want this, I don't want that. Or even when the mind gets settled, there's that breath catching little, and sometimes it's gross and sometimes it's subtle. It's clinging. It's clinging. And so first of all, we need to see its prevalence. We need to see that. Oh, this is clinging. This is not a concept clinging. This is something much deeper than a concept in us. It's an operation. Almost continuously, it's an operation. Except that some of the moments that are really, really sweet in our experience, if you notice these, are moments where there's a fullness of heart, there's a connection, but it doesn't have the same kind of grasping energy. When we settle back in a beautiful place in nature, when we really feel held, when we're lying underneath the stars and looking up, well, that sense of being held, there isn't as much clinging. There are moments when the clinging is not there. There are moments when it's not there. Yeah. But it's part of our nature. And we could see the whole of the practice as, well, the Four Noble Truths, there is this dissatisfaction. What's the cause? Pretty soon, we'll move on to, well, is there anything that's possible to do about it? There is something optimistic about it. But it is really about coming to terms with the extent of our clinging. And to some extent, reviewing it. Of all the things that we've held on to in our whole lives, what of that has stayed? There was a wonderful quote by Shantideva, the Tibetan teacher, the famous Tibetan teacher. Beings, brief, ephemeral, who fiercely cling to what is also passing, will catch no glimpse of happiness. We'll catch no glimpse of the deeper kind of contentment and settling within our nature. So clinging is part of our nature, but it's also part of our nature that keeps us from getting in touch with another part of our nature, which is more settled, which is more deeply at home. And this is part of the dance of spirituality. It's part of the dance of our practice. Yeah. The honoring the extent of our clinging and what do we do about that? But before we do anything about that, let's see how it operates. Let's see how it operates in our meditation practice. Yeah? So we'll do that this morning. Take a look at that. We'll take a look at the moments of clinging as they show up. Both the pushing away and the holding on and the clenching.